Welcome to Vermonters in Business, where we highlight some of the very best business leaders in our state and the amazing things they're doing in their communities. People of Vermont, welcome to Vermonters in Business, where our mission is to highlight the businesses and business leaders in our state that are doing amazing work in both of their careers and in their communities. I am your co-host, Drew Kinney. I am a 7th-generation Vermonter, a business owner in the state, and joining me as always today is my co-host, Travis Spencer. Travis is a serial entrepreneur, a local business enthusiast, and around here we know him as a world-class insurance agent. Travis, Mr. King of the Hot Take, how are we doing today?
Doing great.
All right, so we've got an IT guest with us today. What do you got on the hot take front for us?
Well, you heard some of it yesterday when we were sitting here working in the office. This my hot take. I always like to do a hot take about something. Okay. I usually like to tie it into the guests in some shape, form, or fashion. But there's these ads for the new Google phone. Drive me insane because I don't know if you've seen them, but there's a father on the beach and he throws the kid up and the wife takes the picture, and then you now have the ability to edit that picture and lift the kid higher in the air, like he threw him even higher. And I'm just like, why? Why do we need these? Why do we need to edit? I mean, filters are bad enough, but now we gotta like make it look like I jumped higher or did something more amazing than I really did. So my hot take is we just got to get away from all this phone editing to make ourselves look better than we really are. So.
All right, I love it. So we have a fun show today. Our guest is Tim West. Tim is the owner of Green Mountain IT Solutions. He originally hails from Massachusetts and has made his way to St. Albans, Vermont. Tim, how are we doing today?
Very well, thank you. Thank you, Drew, for having me today.
Yeah, heck yeah. So you originally came from Mass. What made you move to Vermont?
Well, I was actually chasing after a girl or a woman who was going to school here, but we're married now, so it all worked out.
That worked out well.
And just a beautiful place, amazing place Vermont is. So hard to leave once I came for that first time. And
when did you first come up?
That was in 2014.
Okay, so you've been here for a little bit.
Yeah, just about 10 years.
Nice. Was it in St. Albans, or you've been bouncing around a little bit?
I actually just moved to St. Albans last year. I was in Colchester previously, but just bought the house up there, and great town, St. Albans. Shout out to St. Albans, thumbs up to St. Albans, great place to live. So.
Yeah, great. And Green Mountain IT Solutions, when did you first kick that business off?
So Green Mountain IT Solutions started working by myself in 2018. So I've been working for another IT company, and just always was in the back of my mind. I had that entrepreneurial spirit that I would go out on my own, and the time was right. So started off in 2018 and just working solo, and after a couple of years really took off and hired staff and so on and so forth.
Cool. Fun fact about Tim, he's been in a couple of bands. What type of music?
I was in a punk band.
Okay.
So that was in my younger days.
Nice.
Still can play the guitar and stuff like that. I mellowed down a little bit to some more acoustic stylings, things like that. I guess in my old age now. But yeah, I was in a punk band. Nice. It still happens on and off.
All right, very cool. Well, as we start every show, we jump into something we call the Vermonter Hot Seat questions. Tim, are you ready for the Vermonter Hot Seat?
I'm ready.
All right. I heard you had a sneak peek on this.
I did. Can I call out this podcast?
It might not be so hot.
Is the hot seat hot? Is the hot seat hot if I know the questions?
It's cooling down.
All right. So, pancakes or waffles? What are you having with your Vermont maple syrup?
Waffles, 100%. Not even a contest.
All right.
Pancakes are, sorry, can I be elaborate in my answers?
Go for it, yeah.
Pancakes are like, who wants to eat a pancake? They're like stodgy and like dense and, it's a waffle. All
right.
the way.
And a perfect day for you, is it a winter day at the mountain or a summer day at the lake?
Summer day at the lake.
All right.
Also no contests on that one.
Yeah, do ski or snowboard at all?
I do not, actually.
Okay.
And
that makes it tough.
There you go.
Either way, so don't worry about
it. Winter exists to make summer look even better by comparison, in my opinion.
All right, it is your birthday dinner, and you can go to any restaurant in the state. Where are you headed to?
This was a hard... Sorry, I'm confessing I know the questions.
Yeah.
I would say Lunig's is up there.
Yep.
I know that's not the first time you've gotten that answer.
No, that's fine. It doesn't have to be original.
Lunig's hype is real, but I also want to shout out the Drake, which is in St. Albans.
Yep.
And I just moved up there. Great restaurant. One of not even one of the top restaurants in St. Albans, but truly one of the best in the state of Vermont, in my opinion. If you have not been to the Drake,
Nice.
Definitely check it out.
Nice. Well, I went to a spin-off restaurant from Lunig's, which is Electros, which is in Shelburne.
Yeah.
And it was very good. I had a great time there. So if you're thinking
Lunig's
about
great.
mixing it up from Lunig's, they got a sister restaurant just
wrong.
up the road in Shelburne. So, all right. It is a hot summer day. What is your creamy order?
What is my creamy order?
Yeah.
Are there multiple orders? It's the maple creamy.
I mean, we've had plenty of people that want the twist or a chocolate or.
They're all good, but when you say you're getting a creamy, to me, that's the maple.
All right. Where are you getting it from?
I know what's that place in Jericho that, and I've been watching this
Palmer's.
again.
Palmer's Lane. Yeah, that's a popular.
There's
one.
the top spots. I'm going to shout out the most underrated creamy spot, which, strange but true, the Bagel Cafe in Burlington on North Ave.
Okay.
Is breakfast in the morning. During the summer, it's creamies at night, and really nice. Go down there. You can go down to Letty or down by the water there, and delicious creamy. Check it out.
All right. Nice. So I'm going to add one more question in here. I noticed that you are a bit of a fisherman.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And what is your ideal day fishing? Is it like bass fishing? Is it fly fishing? What is it?
Wow, that's a tough one. The ideal day fishing is, for me, I mean, people will go bass fishing, or you want to go out and catch the biggest fish of your life.
Yeah, deep sea. I could throw that in there too.
The nicest fishing experience to me is taking a kid or someone who hasn't been fishing before.
Okay.
And just fishing for perch or sunfish or something like that, and just having someone who hasn't been before or someone who's a child, whatever, classic fishing, throw the worm out there and forget about all. And it's fishing can be over technologized and overhyped and stuff. Yeah. But back to basics. It's all about just not worrying about that stuff, just being out on the lake, having fun. So
yeah, I have a fun experience with that because my folks, they have a place on West Shore in South Hero, and a lot of times I would just slide over after work and you just throw a line out there and it would be like perch every cast, and it's fun. You're catching fish, like I'm not catching like any giant thing, but it definitely eases the mind, and it's nice to be on the lake.
and that's what it is. And you see like competition bass fishing, for example. I get it, whatever. If that's your thing, you like it, like fundamentally for me, it's about relaxation and kind of escaping. And why would you bring competition and thousands and thousands of dollars of technology? Yeah, exactly. I don't get it.
Right. All right. Well, that's what we got for the Vermonter hot seat. That was not so hot.
There you go.
But you did it.
There you go. Heat up the seat. All right. That's my challenge. All right. Anyone season 3 rolls.
Yeah. Travis, let's jump into it. Let's learn a little bit about Green Mountain IT Solutions.
Sounds good. Tim, just start telling us what services you offer, what you do.
So basically, what we are is what you call a managed service provider. What does that mean? That basically means if you are a small or medium business, and it really doesn't make sense for you to hire your own IT department internally, you basically outsource and you hire us on a contract basis to be your IT department. So we monitor your stuff, we provide you with all the tools, antivirus software, security software, backups, watch over all that for you. And we also provide support services. So you have a problem, something's not working, you call us or email us and we'll help you out with that. So it's your own little IT department that you're getting without carrying the expense and the hassle of hiring in-house.
Yep. And what size companies do you work with?
We work with anywhere from between 5 to 50 employees for our clients at their size. And again, that's hitting that sweet spot where, if you're a micro business, maybe you don't have IT needs to that extent. If you've grown to have 75 or 100, well, it probably makes sense for you to hire internally. But it's usually in that 5 to 50 range.
One of the things you said off air to me in correspondence was IT. I want to make sure I read it the right way. IT is an essential service similar to electricity. And without electricity, you can't have your business run. Without IT services, you really can struggle to have your business run. Do you want to elaborate on kind of what you mean by that?
Yeah, I agree. And of course I agree. I said it. I sent it to you in my email. So IT is, for vast majority of businesses, is just an essential utility at this point. And this, I'm sure you guys can imagine here. If you came into this office in the morning and the power was out, you're not doing anything. same thing. If you show up and your computers are not working and your servers, whatever systems you have here, no internet access, that's it. I mean, you might as well go home. You're not getting anything done at all. So that's what I mean when I say IT. It's fundamental. You need, if you're a business in 2024, you need staff. You may not even need an office space. You certainly need IT, and it's on that level for me.
And so when you meet with a new client trying to onboard someone, I mean, do you sit down and do you have a plan? Do you put a plan together for someone, evaluate their needs?
Yeah, absolutely. So our typical process for onboarding is we'll meet with a new business, new client, and first we'll give them an assessment and say, okay, well, here's what's all right with your systems and here's what's wrong. For your example, your server is 10 years old and, oh, by the way, your backup is not working or you have no backups whatsoever, things like that. And make a plan to remediate that situation and see what improvements need to be made. Mm-hmm. And once we try to get clients up to that baseline where everything's humming along and no super hot fires that need to get put out. And from there, pretty much monitoring, maintenance, and support, we try to keep things on an even keel. And by being proactive will be the word of the day. I mean, we're all about a proactive approach. Our job is to prevent problems before they happen. So, okay, your computers are getting to be 5 years old. You should probably replace them because that's going to save Travis from coming into work and not being able to work for half a day because his computer's dead.
Right. And that was going to be my follow-up question was putting together a plan to, upgrade hardware and systems. Is that something you obviously help guide someone with?
Yeah, of course. What we call life cycle management. So how old is our fleet of computers or servers or routers, whatever equipment we might have? What's an appropriate lifespan for these? Do we want to push it longer? What's our budget? And kind of weighing that. Of course, budget is always a factor, especially in small businesses, and weighing risk versus reward. Okay, do we want to push our computers another year to delay the expense of replacing them all, knowing that just by virtue of the fact, okay, all the computers are 6 years old now, we might come in one day and one of them is dead.
Yep.
Yeah. How have you seen the managed IT world kind of adapt to the push for remote employees?
It's been a challenge for some businesses, and that's a really good question, Drew, by the way. That's been the dominating story in the IT world over the past, since COVID, over the past 3 years, has been work from home and remote. For some companies, it was easy. If you were completely cloud-based already, meaning you're not reliant on having a big old server sitting at your office, pretty easy for you to say, okay, take my laptop home, and as long as I have an internet connection, we're good to go. For companies that are a little more, who still have that legacy infrastructure, I would call it at this point, where you do have servers in your office, or you have an application where, hey, it happens. This is our main program that we use, that we've been using for 30 years, and it would be extremely disruptive to switch off that, so we're stuck with it. That's more of a challenge of how are we able to access that remotely. And then, of course, there's a security concern, which is we could talk for hours about the security concern of having someone work from home, people using their personal devices for work, which we tend to discourage, things like that.
Do you see with the shift, because this was one of the things I was going to ask about working remote, are you seeing a shift now for companies? I mean, I go back to when I started, in my work life, it was the old desktop, and here was your desk and here was your monitor. And are you seeing that now the transition because of work remote, hybrid work, where offices now are going to be workstations with monitors and you bring your laptop home and workstations are movable. I can go to St. Albans, I can go to South Hero and just plop my laptop down. And so from a hardware standpoint, are we seeing a shift to a more mobile laptop world and getting away from that?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And been a very common story again in these past 3 years where, okay, people had their previous generation of computers and they bought all desktops because they were very much in-office people. Now, as those devices age out, a lot of people are asking for the laptop, the docking station, and things like that. And just makes sense where even if you are working in office, as we saw with COVID, anything could happen. It's really nice to be able to pick up that laptop and go.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see companies make when it comes to IT?
Can I look at my notes here? So I prepared a little bit. This is let's see. This is a great question, and I'm really looking forward to this one. Okay, what is the biggest mistake that we see small businesses or small medium businesses, even here in Vermont, making? The number one mistake, just off the top, is just not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, when we first started, IT is so essential to your business's operation, to any business. And I don't care if you're, we have plumbers and people like that who are our clients, because even they are, are so reliant on the IT. And to me, it's always shocking, frankly, to see the disconnect between how vital the IT is to a business's operations, and sometimes where they're at as to their awareness of it, and how the importance that they're placing on it. So there are people who really just don't care or don't think about it, and I don't know if that's, I guess to be charitable, that's they just don't know. They don't know what they don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not naming any names, but it's more than a few multi-million-dollar businesses I walked into right here in our community, and kind of had that moment of, oh my God, all these people's jobs, and this business is running on this.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of the things you brought up was business email compromise. So, and how that is actually a bigger threat than, like ransomware and other things. You want to talk about what that is and how it impacts the company?
Definitely, and thank you again for the question. Also, something I was really hoping to talk about today. So, when we talk about IT security concerns in 2024, ransomware is still the poster child. So, you guys know what that is, and for anyone who doesn't, ransomware, someone hacks into your system and locks all your files basically with a key, and demands that you pay them, $2 million in Bitcoin to get access to your files back. That's still the big scary one, and don't get me wrong, that's still a serious issue. However, in our opinion, at present, the most serious issue that we're seeing is, as Travis mentioned, the business email compromise. And actually, every year the FBI releases a report on cybercrime. And suffice to say, last year, 2023, the most recent report, ransomware was in the millions of dollars. Business email compromise was in the billions with a B of losses. So an order of magnitude worse.
Yeah.
So what is a business email compromise? That means someone has gained access to your email and is using it to defraud you.
Yep.
They could be, requesting, they're pretending to be you. I'll give you a couple examples. Okay, so we had a client who had a business email compromise event, and actually it was not really them. It was one of their customers. Okay, and I'll tell you how it happened. I'll give you just an example. So let's say here you are, Kinney Insurance, and you are, your email is travis@kinneyinsurance.com. If you had sent out to whatever, Bob's Plumbing is one of your clients.
Yep.
And you send out to Bob's Plumbing and say, okay, Bob, here's your bill for a 1-year renewal for your business liability insurance, and it's going to be $5,000, whatever. Okay. So what happened to this client? In this case, we're pretending you're the client.
Yep.
Bob's Plumbing, their customer, his email was hacked because he was using, whatever cheap service. Now, all right, the hacker has a copy of your invoice that you sent to him. So what did they do? You're Travis@kinneyinsurance.com. They went and let's say they make Travis@kinneyinsurance.com, but with one N.
Right.
Subtle difference. Now they have a copy of your invoice that they got from Bob's Plumbing.
Yep.
Fake email that looks just like yours except is missing an N.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll send the email to Bob again and say, hey, Bob, sorry, this is Travis. Actually, we just changed our payment link. Can you submit the $5,000 payment to this address? Stuff like that we have seen more times than I care to count, especially rising over the past couple of years.
Wow.
But that's almost always what it is. It's impersonation.
Yep.
Which is, and by gaining access to someone's email, we can impersonate them, and from there, imagine the possibilities. We ask for money, we send fake invoices, we whatever.
Well, we see it internally. I mean, we get emails from pretending to be, Alan or Joe or someone, an owner of the company. It's like, hey, I'm in a meeting. We need you to send money here or there. And so, it is.
Thankfully, in the insurance world, there's no reason anybody should be sending Steam gift cards, but that seems to be the...
and some of them are pretty obvious, so you kind of have to laugh. It's outlandish. They're asking for gift cards, or it's very poorly written, or poor command of the English language, things like that. But a lot of them are getting really good.
Well, ChatGPT is going to fix that real quick.
Yes, absolutely. So
that was my hot take going into the year, was that you're going to see more cybercrime with the help of AI helping to clean up a lot of the deficiencies and just brute force.
Right.
They can load something up and just have it go to town.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned brute force. Another, I guess this ties in, if you're asking me, the top mistake is people just not having awareness or not caring. There's a huge myth in small businesses, and people say, I'm not a target. Who's going to bother? What hacker or what cyber criminal is going to bother to target Bob's Plumbing in Colchester, Vermont, whatever? Well, the fact is that they are, first of all, they might, because they have nothing better to do, and if they can get a fish on the line to take it back to fishing,
sitting in a dark room somewhere.
But beyond that, in most cases, no one is sitting in Russia or China saying, "Hey, I'm going to target Bob's Plumbing today." They are just spraying out automatically to thousands upon millions of targets, and sending out that fake email and seeing, if they send it to 1 million people and they can get 1,000 people to click on it, hey, that's a great day for them.
Yeah.
So it's not, you're not being specifically targeted, but you certainly are being targeted.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get employees, I'm assuming, for a lot of companies to understand this. I got a buddy who's an IT guy in Rhode Island, and he says, we'll have a meeting about phishing emails. The next day, we'll send out a test email, and lo and behold, 40% of the people still click on the link that we just told them the day before not to do. And it just seems like that is a challenge for a lot of employers, just getting your staff to understand.
It is, and that's the scariest thing, and that's the thing that keeps me up at night, most of all, as an IT professional, is the human element. And, I'm not going to come in here with an ego and say, hire Green Mountain IT Solutions and you'll be 100% covered.
Yeah.
Not possible, unfortunately, in our industry. And a big part of that is that human element, where I can put a filter on your email, I can put antivirus on your computer, I can do this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, if I can send a fake email to Drew and say, hey, Drew, wire $10,000 to this bank account, nothing that can be done on the technical side, prevention. So we are rolling out a cybersecurity training that we're offering to our clients, where they would, when they hire a new employee, someone would have to complete a mandatory training for some awareness on things like that.
Now, we talk about the cloud. Obviously, there's a big push to move things to the cloud. It just working remote, things along those lines. Do you envision at any point where we might go back, whether the size of the business, maybe smaller businesses, instead of going, Office 365, they're reinstalling the actual physical, on the laptops, instead of we don't want to be in the cloud anymore for security. Do you think companies will shift back to more holding that data?
It's possible. It's certainly not to do with security, and if that is a perspective, that's a misguided one, in my opinion. And a lot of people say, and we hear that, and we're still doing migrations for clients from a legacy infrastructure to something cloud-based, and people say, what if Microsoft has a security issue, or what if Microsoft goes down? 1 million times more likely that your systems that you're maintaining as a small business are going to have a problem than Microsoft, who's investing literally billions in keeping this running. So it's not a security issue.
Costs,
it could be costs, and especially if you're, I guess the more you're trying to fit a round peg into a square hole cloud-wise, there are businesses. And we see, for example, construction companies who have been in business for decades, who have database systems that have been running for decades, that, they could switch to something else, but it would be, the math just doesn't add up with what it would cost and the disruption it would be to switch to that cloud system. So it all depends. But still, with all those caveats, in 90% of cases, cloud is the way to go. It may be a little costly to get there or a little disruptive to get there, but if you can get there, so many benefits: work from home, overall cost savings, having something be an operational expense ongoing instead of making a huge capital expense for servers and stuff. It really makes sense for most companies.
Yeah. Crystal ball. What do you see for trends, going forward for businesses from an IT technology standpoint, maybe over the next 5 to 10 years?
It's a tough crystal ball to look in this industry in particular, because as you know, it's like I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. In some cases, technologically, I predict that there will come. And I could have predicted this 5 years ago. It didn't happen. I'm hoping there will be a tipping point in cybersecurity and awareness. For example, and I think insurance carriers, just to bring you guys in, might be part of that as well. And insurance carriers not insuring or not willing to cover something when someone's being grossly negligent and not taking cybersecurity seriously. I think we might also see some regulation on that front, and it will probably start with larger businesses and hopefully trickle down into small and medium businesses where it's not acceptable to be as negligent about cybersecurity as some companies are being right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because in our world, you basically have cybersecurity providers, and then you have insurance companies that have simple endorsements that you could add to your business policy. Well, these endorsements, they wouldn't even scratch the surface if you had a actual cyber event happen in your business. It just doesn't provide enough coverage. It's just something that's kind of nice to have. If you truly want to have a properly protected business, you have to go through one of these cyber carriers specifically that specialize in cybersecurity. And one of the first things they do is they'll run the same type of scans that you do for vulnerabilities. And if they find holes in things that they don't like, a requirement will be that you need to get this fixed in order to take out this policy. Yeah. So they're not far off from what you're describing of, hey, if if you want to have this policy, you got to have all of your stuff up to snuff.
Agreed. And it's in a funny way, some of these cyber insurance policies, which I do recommend, by the way, if you're looking, point at the camera, if you're listening, you should get a cyber policy. Yeah. But it turns into sort of this self-care package where, in order to even qualify for the cyber insurance policy, you need to meet requirements for your IT such that your actual chance of having one of these events that you're insuring against has gone. So it kind of, in a good way, it turns into a positive feedback loop. Yeah. On the insurance side, and I was thinking about this, I knew this would come up, and it's an interesting conversation, at least for me. Can I take over the hot take? Think about it this way. I honestly think, for average small business, assuming we don't want to see anyone get hurt or worse, but assuming there's no bodily harm, it would be better for the average business to burn to the ground than it would be for them to have a massive cyber event such as ransomware or such things.
Maybe the burn to the ground's tough, but
but the cost, you could from a cost standpoint.
From a cost standpoint, and especially if you're
how big's the building? No,
and of course I'm being a little facetious. But for example, most businesses have insurance that would at least partially cover something like a fire. Many businesses, and probably a majority of small businesses, do not have insurance that would cover a cyber event.
Very few.
In a similar way, it's horrible. We've lost our office, but we can go get another office. Yeah. If we've irrecoverably lost all of our data, all of our client files, everything is historical data, we might get, even if we have cyber insurance, we might get a payout that makes us feel a little better. Yeah. But it's gone forever. It can't, so. Right.
Not to mention you just have somebody that is now in your corner to help you mitigate this issue. And that's a huge value because, as you alluded to, if somebody's put some ransomware on your system and locks up your system and now you've got to, pay them $1 million worth of Bitcoin, well, chances are probably pretty good you don't even know where to get a Bitcoin, in the beginning. Now you've got somebody that's kind of been down this road before. before.
Well, and it happened to Wendell's a couple of years back, where they had that situation where they couldn't even get into their calendar. I mean, they couldn't deliver furniture because they were like, we don't even know where we're supposed to deliver today because they've taken over everything.
Right.
That's a good example, and the Wendell's thing, and apologies to Wendell's, but that was, it was on the news, and that was a known event. Happened at UVM as well, at the hospital a couple of years ago. Wendell's lost everything.
Yep.
Absolutely started from scratch on client records, on the whole 9 yards. That's terrible that it happened to them. I think they were lucky that they were a retailer. If you look at someone who is more in the knowledge sector, and of course, I know as insurance agents, you guys work with third parties and things like that, and carriers have some of this data. But just imagine a scenario where you lost everything. You lost all of your policies, all the client. I mean, you don't. It's over. I mean, you're closing the door and going home. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, you're not rebuilding from that. In most cases, I would think. And same thing. I mean, if you're a doctor, if you're anybody who's that reliant on information and you lose everything, again, you can get an insurance payout that maybe helps, but it's not. You can buy another car, you can get another office. If the data's gone, that's it. I mean, it's gone.
Right.
Going back to when you started the business, Drew likes to ask this question a lot too. Was there anything you would have done different?
That's a big question. I mean, a million things, and you, like anything, you learn as you go.
Yep.
And looking back, there are people who are going to get it, and there are people who don't get it and never will. And that applies in any industry when you're seeking out new business and seeking out clients. Yeah. And I'm sure you guys run into it as well. Oh, yeah. There are people who, whatever, they want to save $100 over the course of a year on an insurance policy that's a million times worse than if so finding those right-sized clients and people who really do have the right perspective or can come around to the right perspective. And you start off in a new business, and hey, anybody wants to hire you to do anything? Okay, great. I'll be there. I'll be there tomorrow morning at 8:00. Having a little more nuanced perspective on that, and it's not to badmouth anybody or anything like that. But there are companies who don't need such a high level of IT. Right. I mean, most businesses need some IT, but for us at this point, most of our clients we're working with are in professional services, kind of an office setting. Architects, engineers, lawyers, accountants, people who are, that's their main tool is their computer.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's the common thread we hear from people is just jump in, and you're gonna have, you're gonna figure it out. You're gonna have those growing pains, but you got to just get started somewhere and not delaying. And I'm sure you experienced that and just jumping in and getting going, and you figure it out as you go.
Yeah, 100%. And, and it's kind of a funny question to answer. You say, well, what would you do differently? In a sense, it's one answer is everything. Another answer is nothing because it's all part of the process and you learn and you work out. I would be less hesitant to outsource or bring in experts or, or things like that. And we were talking about this a little bit off camera before we started, where you go and you decide, hey, I'm going to start a business, and if you're doing so, you tend to be an independent-minded person, and you got that spirit. No, I'm going to do it all myself. No, that's a myth. That's a huge myth, and you need a team around you, even if you're sole proprietor or working by yourself. You need a really good insurance agent. You need an attorney. You probably should have a business coach or business advisor. Right. Yep. You probably shouldn't be staying up until midnight designing your own logo when you could hire a graphics designer to make a way better one in an hour. Things like that.
Attorneys, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Spending the money and getting things going. And
100%. And just don't. You're not going to do it all by yourself. And focusing on. I can shout out. I do have a business coach myself whose name is Brian, and I'll shout him out. And I'm sure he's going to watch this because hopefully. And he talks about, I wish I hope I have the exact term, your zone of expertise or your zone of excellence, something like that. And for me, I'm really good on the IT side. I can flatter myself. I'm pretty good on the business strategy side. I'm not good at the graphic design. I'm not good at bookkeeping. I'm not, So these are things I need to get off my plate ASAP as much as possible to focus on. It's called the zone of genius. Sorry, Brian. To focus on the zone of genius and things that you excel at.
All right, Brian who?
Brian Hoppy is his name. He's from Texas.
Cool.
But that's my guy right now.
Nice.
So back to the crystal ball. What's your 5-year outlook? What are you hoping to accomplish? What are you hoping to do?
Hoping to grow staff-wise.
Yeah.
And
how many folks are you at now?
It's just 2 of us right now. We were 3 at one point, but and we're at that level where the company is growing and maturing quickly and moving past being Tim's company to being this company exists and Tim is the owner.
Yep.
And my hope for the business is not so much financial as it is to get time back and whatever. I'm not working 100 hours a week or anything. I do have a baby on the way. I think I mentioned that.
Nice. Congrats.
So that's something that's important to me, and I don't want to be staying late when I have a newborn at home for things like that. So bringing on some really good team members and empowering them to take some stuff off my plate is
it's a common thread as well.
I mean, our previous
guest was talking about looking at an org chart and how he's filling up all these spaces and just wanting to not fill all those spaces.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing I'll mention is really doubling down on our dedication to this community and staying local. There's a trend in the IT business. There's a trend in a lot of businesses of acquisitions, consolidation.
Yep.
And that's nothing against anyone who's sold their business to a big firm. Totally valid. And who knows? Maybe I'll be eating these words 10 years from now, and I'll sell to an IT conglomerate.
Yeah.
But especially in Vermont, people want to know you. They want to deal with somebody who feels local and has kind of that personal touch. And that's really how we try to differentiate ourselves. Is people want and people need to have this cutting edge technology. But at the same time, they don't want to deal with a corporation. They don't want to have someone come to their office in their 3-piece suit.
Right.
That looks like they belong in Manhattan and not Vermont. So striking that balance where we're doing what we need to do on the technology side, but also remaining a local business and a community-based business.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Tim, where can people find you?
You can find me wherever you want to look. We're everywhere. greenmountainit.com, greenmtnit.com. Take a look. You can send us an email. Give us a call. We're not afraid of phone calls. Some IT people are. Some businesses are.
Yeah.
Give us a call. LinkedIn, Facebook, all those good places. Take a look.
Awesome.
Open up that Google.
As we close every show, if you guys know anybody out there that should be on the show that is doing outstanding work in their careers or in their communities, we'd love to have them. Send them our way. But this has been another episode. Tim, we appreciate you, man.
Thanks so much, Travis. Thank you. Awesome. Appreciate it, guys.